so often interviews kind of feel like an interrogation, right? And it doesn't have to be. It can be a two-way conversation, and that's actually a way more effective way to interview, looking at it more like a consultant and not an interrogation. It's not question, answer. It's conversation.
Welcome to Answer the Call, where we help Christians discern what they feel called to do and then practically launch a career, land a job, start a business that's aligned with it. You could do a multiple choice selection on that one, depending on what applies to you. We have a variety of episodes, sometimes focusing on calling, spiritual encouragement, theology of work. Others, like this one, focusing on technical job hunt support to help you beat this competitive market and actually land a position. Hopefully that aligns with your sense of what you feel called to do. So today, as you see from the title, we're going to talk about the 5 things that you're doing wrong in interviews and how to fix them. I have to give some credit to Miss Audrey for this one. Well, a lot of episodes, because you're really the one that is in the weeds with and leading our one-on-one coaching calls with clients through their interview coaching and preparation process. So thanks for putting this together. I'm excited to just, word as you talk about these 5 mistakes that you see and how to fix them.
Yeah, so when we work with people, we do unlimited one-on-one interview prep calls, which are some of my favorite calls to do because I find that people are often very intimidated by the interview. They don't know how to prep. They don't know what to expect. And there's just a lot of fear around it. And there's that side of things. But then there's also the group of people that sometimes come in overly confident and they think, oh, I'll just figure it out as I go. So I think this episode will help. I hope that it helps both groups of people. And I do want to give a shout out to the interview series that we did back in March of 2024, because we have 6, I want to say hour-long episodes, close to an hour long. 6 really informative episodes going through all the prep and tips there as well. So just want to do an updated one here, but if you go back to the podcast search bar and just search interview, you will see a ton of content come up, and I recommend that you go listen to those as well. So
we also have, I built out a free section on our website, the free tools page. So that's new at thecalledcareer.com, where you could see all of our advice and our best free work organized for you under the categories of helping you clarify your calling, identify the right job title, optimize your resume, LinkedIn, interview prep, salary negotiation, overcome fear and doubts, as well as mindset and general spiritual encouragement, theology of work, things like that. So pretty extensive after being at this for over, I guess, 7.5 years at this point. So I just wanted to create a really organized, beautiful way to engage with our free work.
Mm-hmm. I love that page on the website. I've been clicking through it a lot. It's kind of embarrassing because you did such a good job with it. So you can find those resources there as well. But today we're breaking down the 5 things that you're probably doing wrong. And I say probably because after working with hundreds of people through this process, almost all of these things are things that take people by surprise, no matter what category they're in, whether in the super confident category or the super fearful category, or somewhere in between. They were taken aback by these tips, just like, oh, I never thought about it that way. So because there's small mistakes, subtle mistakes that might probably be quietly costing you those offers. So what are those mistakes? What to do instead, so that you don't run into that situation, hopefully run into that situation where you come out of interview, maybe time and time again, that went great. And then
not feeling great, but no results.
Yes, totally. So first thing is the tell me about yourself question. And the first mistake here would be bombing that question for maybe a couple different reasons. One, you don't know how to prepare for it. Or 2, you think that you'll be able to wing it. This is very dangerous for anything in an interview because I think it becomes very overwhelming for people. So they decide, oh, I know how to talk about myself. I'll be able to figure that out. This is usually your very first impression moment in the interview. And so many people waste the time by either just listing what's already written out on their resume or talking about completely irrelevant stuff. Like I remember once when I did an interview and I didn't know how to answer this question, I started talking about how much I love history. Like who cares? It was not relevant to the job at all. So
Yeah.
it's not a time for personal accomplishments. It's not a time or irrelevant accomplishments, I'll say. And it's not a time for just listing your resume chronologically. And there is a structure that you can use to prepare for this question. And I do recommend that you practice it just like you would practice an elevator pitch. Um, Practice this as well so you can deliver it really cleanly.
Yeah.
That structure is starting with destination and then moving into your backstory and then connecting the dots. And I'll break down what we mean by that. So start by your destination. Where are you headed? Forward looking. What do you have that vision or passion for? What role do you aspire to? Like where are you going? And then the backstory is basically the brief background of those relevant career highlights that have gotten you to this point, that describe your hunger or fit for this new role. So where are you going? Where have you been? And then connect the dots for them. And Kelsey, you say this a lot, like this is the expert move. This is what so many people forget because they just kind of lay out all of the information on the table and they don't do the connecting the dots, but it's such a good rapport building technique and just competency indicator to demonstrate, oh, I'm not just going to throw information at you. I'm going to tell you how this all makes sense, how this all brings me to this point to exceed your expectations for this role.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that maybe most people I've noticed are, they trended towards just focusing on the backstory. And while listening to somebody monologue about their backstory, I and hiring managers are often thinking, so what? So
Mm-hmm.
what? So what? Like respectfully, so what? Or respectfully, who cares? But if you start with, here's where I'm going and why I'm here, because of like the things in my past that helped me be qualified and like a great fit for being in this room right now. Um, because I also care about da da da, like to connect the dots between why your background is what it is and why you're here in that room going for ideally the role that they're interviewing you for. So don't focus more on the background than you do the what you're going toward.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just think that, yeah, a lot of people miss connecting those dots or saying what you're going for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the over explaining, which actually brings us into our next mistake that people make, which is the talking too much or
Talking too much. May
giving
I
those.
share one thing that I think bridges mistake one and mistake two?
Mhm.
I think not everyone decides to go into a long monologue about their resume and everything that they've experienced up until this point, their background. Some people ditch a professional introduction entirely and focus fully on a personal introduction. And I think that is sometimes more charismatic types think that they're really connecting with the person that they're talking to. But this person has a time limit and a very um, present need for this conversation to go somewhere. And they're not hiring you because you're super proud that your kids are in college now or whatever. Like I had a friend that said he interviewed a guy for a position and he droned on for 20 minutes at the beginning of the interview about his family life, his life in their town, his children. And the entire time, this guy's like, I already know I don't want to hire you because you're going to do this with our customers. It was a sales position.
Ooh.
And it's sales isn't about you. It's about the person that you're talking to and asking them thoughtful questions that guide their decisions. And so that was just a really interesting example. And that particular friend, that's the owner of a large business, said that that happens to him all the time. it's very rare that he finds a candidate that is thoughtful, professional, and concise, which I thought was really interesting.
Hmm.
And some other business owner friends chimed in and agreed with that as well. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, it goes
I
back.
oh sorry, I
Okay.
keep on adding caveats to my own statements, but I saw my husband Kevin go through his job hunt this summer after getting laid off from the startup that kind of went down. And one really interesting thing is I heard his interviews sometimes because, our house is small. And he actually did start with like my recommended intro. And I heard the interviewer say, no, but I mean about you personally. But that was that was a rare circumstance that it happened to be this interviewer's style to just hear about this guy, my guy, personally before they get into things professionally. The interview went well and he ended up getting the offer. It did not hinder their rapport that Kevin started with professionalism, because he also was nimble to um, respond to this guy's curveball of actually he just wanted like a tech bro chat. That's in the Austin tech scene that is normal, I guess. But yeah, I would say you're going to encounter that sometimes, but let the interviewer lead on if to say that that's what they really want. Don't assume.
Hmm. Yeah, and a good rule of thumb for when you are coming up with your response, keep it 1 to 2 minutes
Hmm.
so you avoid that rambling on.
Yeah, practice answering "Tell me about yourself" and put it into the voice notes of your phone and watch how easily you do a 5-minute response.
Mm-hmm.
And then listen back to it and hear all the things that actually could have been shortcutted and you don't really need to go into detail about yet.
Hmm.
It's really good to discipline yourself to try to do a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and through that you'll become a more concise uh, person in your thoughts and your speech, which is very important to professionalism. Though, please don't fault me for sometimes being long-winded. This is a podcast, not an
Podcast.
interview.
That's the nature of a podcast. I was
Yes,
actually
off
laughing
the
about
top.
that, how we're still on point one, talking
I
about
know.
being concise.
I would not do that in an interview. Context matters.
Context matters. But our second point here is talking too much or giving 5 minute answers.
Yeah, yeah.
And really the main point here is that over explaining your answers makes it really hard for the interviewer to follow your impact and the impact you actually have. And I mean, you've been in the interviewer seat more than I have, but I've been in the uh, listening to people giving me presentations in our prep calls, right? And this has been really prevalent recently. I've been running into a lot of our clients getting too caught up in the storytelling of it all and wanting to add in this context and wanting to bring people in experientially into what was going on and taking them on that journey. And I'm trying to coach them and I'm drowning it out. Like I can't
Yeah.
even keep up with them and I have to it's hard for me to follow. Imagine the interviewer who is actually
Yeah.
trying to cut through all the noise and see, do I want to pay this person to bring them on my team or not? So,
Would you mind sharing an example of like droning on? Like, is it a
mhm,
lot of details about the team they were on, the project they were on, the kind of
mhm.
customer, like so many details that you don't necessarily
Yeah,
always matter?
yeah, it's details that don't necessarily always matter, and it's coming from this place I've noticed with people, and honestly, ooh, I think I've noticed it more with our female clients. I don't know if it's a male versus female thing, but it's like, let me take you into the journey here so that the impact is that much greater at the end.
Mm.
And that's where I'm seeing people come from. It's like the impact is going to be a lot more impactful if you just kind of get to the point
Get to the point.
and
Yeah, I
share
always tell people,
metrics.
don't bury the lead.
Yeah.
Come on, just
Yeah.
tease it, and then you could share. You justified sharing details, but I don't want to hear the details if I'm not sure that a long answer is justified for the end result. Like, is the
Hmm.
reward at the end going to be worth it? Just share, like a yeah, get to the point.
Upfront.
And you were saying metrics.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people are familiar with the STAR format, which is sharing your answers through talking about the situation, task, action, and results. We over here like shortening that even more to the SAR method, which is situation, action, result, and to make it even more possible to be concise and to get to the point a lot quicker. I even sometimes, I don't have a cute way of saying this, but what's the result? And then how did I get there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. You
maybe
could say,
explaining a little bit more at the end about that result. But like you said, teasing it up front.
yeah,
I improved this by X%. Here's how I got there.
exactly. Yeah, for an example of to go more into what that sounds like you were sharing of just like, yeah, I actually have a lot of marketing campaign experience. I've created probably a full blown campaign a month at my company for the last 4 years there. Each one improving the our discoverability as a company. We increased leads over, or I, through my efforts there, because you don't want to go into we too much. Through that, I ultimately saw an increase in lead flow of 30%, particularly through my efforts focusing on our email marketing campaigns as well as paid on social. And so that is an example of just go ahead and say that. And if they have any follow up questions, they can ask if they want more detail. It's, I think, putting them in the driver's seat a little bit more and being mercifully short in your response.
Yeah, you don't have to try and answer every single question that they're going to have in your initial response. Let them
Mm-hmm.
actually ask the questions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I think people run into that a lot as well. So that's the mistake number 2, talking too much. How you're going to fix that is keeping your responses, try to keep them to 90 seconds, and use that SAR method, situation, action, result, with teasing the result ahead of time or just saying the result ahead of time. So R SAR? I'll get back to you if I come up with a cuter way to say that. But the next step, along in those answers, a mistake we see people making is not connecting your answers back to their business goals and the goal of this role, which you should already know. Don't ask about that unless you need some clarification. Like, of course, there's nuance there, but come in knowing what their goals are. You can find that online with public companies. They definitely have an annual report. A lot of companies in general have annual reports. You should be reading that, be control F, searching for strategic priorities or business goals, whatever keywords you need to find out what they're trying to do as a company, but also just knowing the nature of your role. Are you generating revenue? Are you saving costs? Understand all of that context going in and tie back your answers to the goals of this role and the goals of the business in general.
I think it is understandable to not fully understand, like, what is the person in front of you's understanding of, like, what they want you to do for them
Mm-hmm.
as their employee. And so come in with an educated guess, but it's also fair to tack on to the end of your question. And I know this goes on to a tip later on or relates to a tip later on of tack on a question to the end of your answer to turn it into a conversation. You could say, yeah, and based on what I saw in your quarterly earnings report, I know that you're focusing as a company on XYZ. I can imagine that this role will help through blah, blah, and blah. But what would you say is your personal goal for this position? Like, what do you think the difference between good and great is? And like, what are the main results that you want me to drive through it? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't always recommend stacking questions as I just did. Maybe that was not the most artful, but that is, in general, a helpful way to turn it into a conversation and
Yeah.
hear more of what they want you to say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And when a tip I always like to give is when asking a clarifying question, at first say in that statement, here's what I understand, and then tack on the clarifying question. So it's not just super general for them. You're showing competence already and then saying, am I understanding this correctly? Would you add to that? Of course, you can be more specific in those. I'm using very general phrasing here. But that's a way to clarify their expectations, get their exact language so you can mirror that back to them without looking like you don't know what's going on at all.
Yeah, yeah, that is huge. As I've interviewed people for the call to career, I've a lot of people, I believe, do this to small business owners or more mission oriented companies, or if they're just trying to work for like a solopreneur thought leader person, they'll come into the interview and think it's charming to ask, what's your story? Like, what made you start this? That is actually, for somebody who has been on a lot of podcasts and answered that question ad nauseum and also has a thoughtful about page on her website, that's a crazy question, dog. That is crazy. Like, I'm not a narcissist. I don't enjoy hearing myself like recount how I felt in 2018 for the 100th time when I started this business. Although uh, like I'm grateful for my story, but I don't love just hearing myself talk in an interview. I'm very, very focused about hearing. I want to learn from them, but I think it's fine if they would have said, I saw that you started this in 2018 and before that you were in tech consulting. I similarly have a corporate background and imagine that that was a really big leap. I like, how did you overcome that? And like, are you glad that you did it? And maybe that actually would still be a dumb question because, like, yeah, I'm glad I did it. But something like that, just like starting with understanding and showing that you did your research before you ask them like a very, very, very open ended basic question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ways to connect back your answers to their business goal, like little phrases like, oh, this is similar to what you mentioned about blah, 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 if they said something earlier in the interview. Or it sounds like one of your priorities is X. Here's how I've tackled that before. Just connecting the dots for them, going back to our first point of how important connecting the dots is. That's not just in the tell me about yourself, that goes throughout all of your answers.
That's right. All the time.
Hmm.
All right. What's our next one?
One that you and I are particularly passionate about, Kelsey.
Whee!
Number 4, mistake. Saying what you want to learn instead of showing how you'll contribute.
Mm.
So this is a huge one. People so and you really opened my eyes to seeing this. But it's so common. People going in, I'm so excited to learn from your team.
Mhm.
So excited to learn from you as a manager. I'm so excited. And there is good intention here, and you will learn, but you need to demonstrate in an interview how you're going to contribute and not what you're just going to get from the experience. When you say, I'm excited to learn from your team, it signals this passivity and lack of resourcefulness.
Mhm.
When someone's hiring you, they want you to be a problem solver, someone who's going to go out there and figure it out, not a student. They're literally paying you to solve these problems for them. And I actually had this realization recently. The comparison here is, imagine when we brought on new clients, if they came to us asking for help and we said, don't know about that one. Sorry. I'm so excited to learn how you handle this.
I'm so-
They're paying me to be able to
oh my gosh.
guide them through this. What if I just said, I'm so excited to learn? I love learning from you guys to see how you handle different situations.
Or I just love this job. It's so meaningful getting to walk with y'all through such an important season of life. Like, gosh, yeah. Like if I only empathize like some bad therapists do, where like all they do is empathize and validate your feelings. But I'm like, steps forward, question mark, expertise,
Mm-hmm.
question mark. I don't know. Yeah, that's like I think a key indicator of this problem that you're talking about. But I think that there's one other addition of this. You might not be telling your interviewer how excited you are to, like, I'm applying for this role because I'm just really excited to get into learning and development. Like, I've been interested in this career shift for a while. And when this was open, I just thought, oh, that'd be perfect. You might actually share a different version of this, which is excited to be a part of the mission, which is tricky because it seems like that would be a really good thing. But if you're just spending a lot of time saying, oh, yeah, I'm applying for whatever it is, like let's say like Focus on the Family, I don't know, some like Christian organization, because I feel like it would just be so exciting and meaningful to be a part of this, like a Christian company that's focused on families. And you could say that like a little bit, but if you beat it over the head that you're applying because you think that this is going to be a dream job and like a warm, loving professional family where you have like no pain in this job and you're like, I don't know, diving into escapism and idealism after being burnt out in a corporate career or something like that, that might not come off like you think. Every position, including those at those mission oriented organizations that you are really enthralled by the work that they're doing, which is awesome and you should be, also have boring days, also have things to push through, and also have real technical problems that they're trying to hire someone with experience to solve. And so, if the interviewer perceives that you are only providing excitement to the position, but not solutions or experience, then what happens when your excitement goes away and you have a hard day at the job? Like, are you going to bounce when you realize that shifting from for profit into nonprofit isn't always what it seems? That's one that I see a lot.
Yeah. And I also, even when you were giving those examples of the language people use, I'm so excited to join this mission driven organization. I'm hearing that in an interviewer seat of, oh, I'm so glad we get to be the solution to your problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And sorry, I'm being a little tough right now, but there are these well meaning phrases that really give the wrong impression and maybe not even consciously to the interviewer,
Mhm.
but they're picking up on these things of, oh, this person's looking to get, and I'm not really understanding what they're going to contribute. And we have 50 other applicants that
Yeah,
are seeming more like they're chomping at the bit to contribute. And
exactly.
that, again, these are these subtle mistakes, subtle language, subtle things that are leaving you without job offers.
Mhm. Yep. I had a girl spend the entire interview for one position I had open talking about how sad and disillusioned and unfulfilled she's been in her career, and pretty much telling me her testimony, which as a sister in Christ, I can understand, but this is not always the setting to do that. And I didn't ask for it. I was asking a technical question. And she spent the whole time talking about how she really feels like seeing this position open is like God giving her like a new lease on life, or like I don't know, happiness again. And so it kind of seemed like I was a background character in her life
Mm.
in order to fulfill God's great plan. But God's great plan is bigger than all of us, and we're all here to contribute to it. And yeah, she just really spent the whole 30 minutes talking about
Wow.
um, her spiritual journey to get to the point of applying to this job. And I never actually got to hear about her experience or what qualifications she brings to the role. Pretty interesting.
Interesting way to approach an interview. But yeah, I think your point on this being particularly something that comes up in these mission driven organizations, um, as Christians, I think it happens so often. So I'm glad that we're talking about it. And the last point, if you're ready to move on,
Mhm.
last mistake is when you let the interviewer do all of the evaluating. So often interviews kind of feel like an interrogation, right? And it doesn't have to be. It can be a two-way conversation, and that's actually a way more effective way to interview, looking at it more like a consultant and not an interrogation. It's not question answer, it's conversation. And I just know Kevin was so good at that, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, he was good at it. He was asking, and what we mean by consulting, a consultant rather than a job seeker. As a job seeker is one that's just like, give me the job, please. You could ask me, you could explore my background and see if you want to pick me from the menu of candidates. A consultant is somebody that's coming in as with an air of expertise, that it has an investigative personality, to find out what the real problem is and how to solve it, with the experience and perspective that they bring. And so you have to get to the bottom of things and then make proposals and ask consultative questions to understand your interviewer's real goals, vision, what's gone wrong in this position in the past, what they want to see you knock out of the park on a 30, 60, 90-day scale. Things like that. Those are questions that you could ask of the interviewer that will help them feel really honored that you're not just going in to warm a seat, but you're there to solve problems and you understand that they are a person with a hiring problem that needs to be solved. And it's very compassionate and professional to handle an interview this way, trying to ask questions throughout the interview. Again, those can most naturally be just tagged on at the end of an answer that you're giving to one of their questions. Maybe space it out, give them two, give yourself one back. Those that can be a helpful cadence. Of course, just go with the flow. There's not a strict rule on that, but I do find that people uh, maybe just go on the defense instead of the offense of only answering questions and saving your questions for the very end. But actually, it's a missed opportunity to, at the very beginning, as close as possible to the beginning of the interview, start asking them questions that uncovers their real goal, their real style as a manager, their definition of a dream employee, and you could compare that to your definition of a dream employer. I think that that's also really helpful information. And then that gives you the exact words that there's they want to hear back. You could tie back all of your future answers in the interview to what they said their real goal is in their own words, which is at times somewhat different than the plain language that you read on the job description. So that's how a consultant acts, and it's different than just a job seeker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I had a bonus tip that I threw
A
in there
bonus
last
tip.
minute. Um, which I feel like we could go on and on and on with our bonus tips, but I just want to do this one because I've been running into it with people recently and finding that when people, if you have a really active job search and there's a lot of interviews that you're bouncing between, sometimes internally it feels weird or it feels like you're losing impact with sharing these stories and you might be holding back. And what I mean by that is, oh, I've already told this story 5 times. And you start to believe that they probably already know this thing. And
Even
I'm
though that's
sharing,
psychotic.
even though that's crazy, and I'm sharing that from a personal place of the conversations you and I have where, we coach dozens of people through this process that we have here. And sometimes we forget, oh, this is the first time this person is hearing this.
Mm-hmm.
This is really the first time they're hearing this kind of perspective. It might be, the first time that they're hearing this kind of tip. Same with a podcast, right? And so you almost start to dilute your stories a little bit. And I just wanted to throw this bonus tip in there to remind you that every single time you're sharing a story, I want you to share it from a place of this is the first time they're hearing it because that's literally the truth. This is the first time they're hearing it, and don't dilute things or wash out your stories. And it might be happening without you realizing it. So put that lens on, the fresh lens of, oh, this is the first time I'm sharing these stories. Let me deliver it like that.
I love that you brought this up. I was actually thinking kind of along these lines this past weekend when I went to the Austin City Limits like music festival that's here in town, and I got to see an artist that I have enjoyed following since I was a teenager, and I realized, wow, she's been singing this one hit for 20 years. It doesn't sound so good now. She literally sounds bored with it, and so she's like making
Oh.
up all these weird parts and going slower. And like when people mess up in my opinion, the national anthem because they're trying to make it weird or different. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh wait, but to me, this is like the first time that I'm getting to see
Yeah.
you live. And I'm like, wow, I don't pity musical artists that have to sing their hit for decades at a time. So if they could try to face that bravely, hopefully you can face your uh, 5 or 10 first interviews in this job hunt with a dedication to say, I'm going to make it fresh.
Hmm.
And I'm going to say it enthusiastically each time.
Yes, enthusiasm goes a long way.
It
A
really does.
long, long way. So,
A lot of people don't have it. I know that we have a whole other episode on energy. Your energy is everything.
mhm.
Maybe that could be a good companion episode to this one, because I would say that's like a whole other category that I find is like a main mistake in interviews is not bringing any level of energy and just kind of being flat or bored. As some people, I don't know that they know that they come off as bored and disinterested or not lacking energy, lacking enthusiasm, sharpness. Yeah, I think that energy is really important, and maybe try a little inflection in your voice. And
Mhm.
uh, yeah,
And if you
I
don't
I
have
think so.
anybody, if you don't have anybody in your life who will tell you that, come sign up at the Called Career because we will tell you
Or grow up with a
in a nice way.
sister. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how drilled into me it is. Like, shut up, nobody cares. Like, she wouldn't say that, but it was basically like, okay, this story is boring.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. I think growing up with an identical twin is really something because we had to share friends and share social environments a lot. And so basically, we would just give each other ruthless feedback all the time about how you're lame and not cool. And
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. What? No wonder you're so good at receiving feedback,
Oh, thanks, Audrey.
especially kind feedback. You're so grateful for the kind feedback.
Oh, I mean, I try. I always joke that I was raised by a wolf pack of Enneagram threes. So you gotta dish it and take it.
Yeah. Well, those are our tips for today. And ultimately, remember that the interview is not only to answer questions. I mean, please don't read too much into that. You need to be answering the questions. That's very important. We said that in this episode. But it's also building that connection, showing the impact that you have, and making it easy for them to say yes to you with the good energy, the good vibes, and measurable impact that you can display in a concise and clear way. So,
Yeah.
fixing
Don't
these mistakes, yeah,
don't rely on
don't
being
rely on
a
vibes.
personality hire. Don't rely on being a personality hire.
Yes. Yeah, you have expertise to bring to the table. Be confident in that and display it confidently. And I'm hoping that these mistakes will, or fixing these mistakes will significantly help you stand out from the crowd of people who are not fixing these mistakes. You'll be ahead of them just by doing these things.
That's right. By the way, I promise we don't just roast our clients all day long. We really do um, vouch for their strengths and help them feel really good. And I feel like our program is mostly encouraging.
I think so. I think
When we're
so.
talking in no one in particular, from our perspective in a podcast, sometimes we just go broad overview. Here are the horror stories. Don't be
Mhm.
one of them. So I promise that it doesn't always go that way in our daily conversations with clients.
Yeah, we we're big on the kind feedback,
Yeah,
encouraging feedback, and finding the fun along the way.
that's right. Yeah. Come on in, the water's warm. If you need extra help and one-on-one support, then go to thecalledcareer.com and book a free 30-minute consultation with me this week so we could uncover what you're going through, where you want to go, what's stopping you from getting there, and then let's fix that problem and get you on your way. So I will look forward to talking to you there. Don't delay. It is still a good time to be applying to jobs, even in October at the time of this recording. And that's a little tease of our episode that's coming out next week. I'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. To get an even more meaningful head start into your calling, head to thecalledcareer.com, where my fellow career coach Audrey and I have created a whole suite of free resources and tools to help you get clear and get a job today. For those who are definitely ready to land a job or start a business in the next 6 to 12 months, we're here to help you biblically and practically discern your calling through coaching, reflection, and deep market research. Identify the job that's aligned with it, even if you currently have no idea what you want. Rebrand your resume and LinkedIn to translate your background to appeal to your future boss. P.S. We take this off your plate and do this for you. Also, we'll teach you how to land referrals and get attention from leadership through networking. Again, if that makes you nervous, we have these emails and LinkedIn messages literally written for you so you don't have to sweat. We're also here to give you unlimited interview practice so you're prepared to address every elephant in the room and knock selling yourself out of the park. Then we'll round out with helping you negotiate your salary so you land thousands more. Just so you know, recent clients have gotten $8,000 to $50,000 salary increases, even though they were totally non-traditional candidates. That's because we specialize in helping non-traditional career pivoters land jobs they're ecstatic to serve in. It takes work, but we're here to see you through until the end, when we're celebrating that day that you send me an email in all caps and you say, Kelsey, I got the job. Then you could be on the podcast. But I'll be here until then, keeping you accountable and encouraged by meeting with you literally until you land the job you want, even if that's up to 6 months from now within our program. Apply to join at thecalledcareer.com, and I'll see you next week here at Answer the Call. Bye for now.